Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover video on the Auto Trail Apache 632. So to hook the van up, whether you're charging it at home prior to your trip or whether you're on site, it's the same way of hooking the vehicle up. So you get your hooker blade, lift the collar, lift the flap on the van so it exposes the connection, hook the vehicle up first and then the sight, and do it in reverse order when unhooking the vehicle. To drain off your waste is located underneath the skirt, and there's a lever on the side of the tap to open the valve. So this is any waste water that you've put down any plug hole goes into a separate holding tank, and on the way out of your site you want to drain this off by driving over the designated waste disposal area on site. Let this out, don't drive with this because what will happen is you'll just add weight to the vehicle for no necessary reason. Once it's dirty you can't do anything with it. Drain it all off before you drive away, leave it open a little bit when you drive down the road. The camber of the road will rock any loose water out. And in the winter, make sure that this is fully drained off to avoid any frost damage. To open all your habitation locks using the habitation key, you can open and lock all external lockers. This is your locker behind your kitchen, so you've got ample storage for things like your hooker blade, your levelling ramps, your hose pipes, bits and pieces that you don't want to put inside the vehicle you can put out here. Here you have your wheel external shower. So it's a cold water fed shower. It's exactly like a hose pipe fitting. So you'll get one trigger going on the end of a connection. Slots into there. As long as the pump's on, you'll get a pressurized flow to hose the dogs off, the bikes, the boots, anything that you want to hose off so you're not putting in the van dirty, you can do with the external shower. To fill the vehicle with fresh water, this is your water filling point. So you've got one small key which locks and unlocks the flap so it stops anybody tampering with your water. Slide it up, pop the hose into here and wait until it overflows, or you look on your control panel and see how much water you've got on board. If you can't get a hose pipe to the vehicle and you can bring a bucket, an aqua roll or a container of water, you can use a wheel pump. There's a 12 volt point there for power. As long as you turn tank fill on your control panel, you get power to here. One end in here, the hose and the pump into the bucket, and you'll be able to suck the water from the bucket, aqua roll or container into your main freshwater tank. To drain off your fresh water though, so say you are winterising the van, you're not using it for a while, you've got a full tank of fresh water and you want to drive to your site and you don't want to drive around with the added weight, you can drop it down to 20 litres so you've still got enough to have a cup of tea, use your own toilet. Would all be done through your freshwater drain off point. So you just open this up and allow the water out. And you can look on your control panel and see how much water's left. But in the winter, we can't stress enough that the fresh, the waste and the boiler and all your taps in your van need to be left open. And this would be one of the taps you'd need to leave open. On the back of this model, you do have a garage space, so you do have ample storage with tie-down points. Your own and winding handle, your fridge vents, a set of carpets are in here, carb mat. You do have a 230 volt socket up there as well, so if you want power on the awning side, just open that side door and you'll be able to plug in. And you do have access into the vehicle, so if it was raining you can get things out the garage without coming outside. On the back panel of the vehicle you've got your high level brake light and built-in reversing camera, and you've also got, using the habitation key, you can remove the Auto Trail badge, and behind here there's a nut. You can remove this GRP panel, and behind there is a full-size spare wheel with all your toolkit underneath the passenger seat to change your wheel. Here you have your external barbecue point. So it's never been used. You've got a quick release connection here. Chop that off. That goes into there with some orange gas hose, a Jubilee clip to connect it, and a Jubilee clip on the Cadac or barbecue before turning the gas tap on to allow the gas from the bottles to be used at this point. To operate your toilet, to open the door using the habitation key, then push both catches in and release the door. Lift the orange handle and slide the cassette free of the vehicle. If you lifted the handle and it didn't come out, it just means your blade's not closed properly, so go back in and shut the blade, which is the grey lever on the pedestal of the toilet. Once removed from the vehicle, you can either carry it or you can wheel it to the waste disposal point. And then to empty the cassette, remove the grey cap. Once the grey cap's been removed, pop it to one side. As you're pouring the contents of the cassette out, press the orange button here at the back. It'll put a bit of air in, stop it glugging. Once you've emptied it, there's normally a tap, so you put some water in, put the cap back on, give it a final rinse before going in with a cap full of chemical, which is 120 ml. So 120 ml in here. Once the chemical's back in, which is green or blue, just depends on what the site prefer you to use, pop it back into the vehicle and it's good to go. This is your gas locker on the vehicle. So normally it would take 2 6-kilogram propane bottles, but this customer has swapped over his gas flow system from his part exchange vehicle. So with the gas flow system, it's slightly different. It's a refillable system and you fill it from petrol forecourts, which is great if you're abroad, and in this country you can fill it. So this is your filling point. It's a bayonet fitting. You would go to your local centre that sells LPG. Connection on the pump would fit in, you'd lock it in, you'd pull the trigger back, pressurise it to the vehicle, and then press and hold the button on the display until it stops. Once it stops, it is full, and you would release the connection from the vehicle. In the locker, you do have a gas lower bottle. So this is a 11-kilogram bottle. You can see on the top your gauge, so if I just zoom in there, you can see how much gas is on board at any one time, and the plus and the minus. Minus is off, so always make sure it's turned off before you travel, but you can turn it on once you're parked and allow the gas into the van. Green button here on the back of the regulator is a crash valve, so if the gas wasn't coming through, you just do a reset with the crash valve, which is a 10-second press on this green button. Beside the passenger door on the Fiat Ducato, we do have the location of the diesel filler. So the diesel filler is a lockable cap with the main ignition key, so you would pop your key in, turn and release the cap to fill with diesel fuel. Your tyre pressures can be found on the passenger slam panel, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi. This is the location of your toolkit, so it's underneath the passenger seat, so it's got a jack, a brace, a tone iron. Undo this clip, pull this off, and this will slide out so you can remove it from the vehicle and take it outside if you need to use any of these tools. Your bonnet release on the Fiat Ducato is on the side of the passenger dashboard, so open the door and you'll be able to pull the lever back to release the bonnet. So now underneath the bonnet, beside the driver's headlight is where you fill up with screen wash, which is the main one you're going to need. 3 tabs lift this panel off and you can fill your power steering fluid and your coolant. You've got your brake fluid, your oil filler and dipstick, your paint codes on this sticker here. If you ever need to jump start the vehicle, this is an earth. This is your positive for giving or receiving a jump start next to your air filter. And then you do have your weight sticker, so you've got your Fiat Ducato weight sticker. Go off this one now, it's Auto Trail. It tells you the weight of the vehicle, so it tells you gross vehicle weight, train weight, front and back axle weight. So once on board the vehicle, if you're hooked up, you'll get this little electricity symbol there. If you're not, you'll just get 12 volt off your leisure batteries. But what you need to do is you need to turn the 12 volt system on. So you need to press the big on button, turn the system on. Then if you want lights, you can turn your lights on. That's your main master switch for your lights across the road from it. And then they all are individually switched around the van. So go around and switch the ones on that you want. Underneath the master switch, you've got your pump. So you can turn your pump on, making sure that you've got sufficient water on board. To check your water levels, it's the one underneath. And you can see there that you've got 50% of fresh water on board and 0% waste. So the tanks on these are 100 litres of fresh and 70 waste. So you've got 50 litres of fresh water sitting in that tank at the moment. When it's 100% full, you've got 100 litres. Press the home button in the middle and you can go back to the control panel. Underneath you've got your battery levels. So if you press this one, you can view your battery levels. So you can see that your leisure battery is at 12.5 volts. Your vehicle battery is at 12.5 volts. Take the hookup out to get a true reflection of the leisure battery, because when on hookup that can give a false reading. Your active battery in the middle there that says leisure, you always want it to say leisure because that's the active battery that runs the motorhome. You never want that to say vehicle unless you're in an emergency and you just need 12 volt quickly for a little period of time. You can swap it to the vehicle battery should you wish, but I always say just leave the vehicle battery for starting the engine because you wouldn't want to flatten the vehicle battery. You can see that that's drawing 0.8 amps because that's what we've got on. That's physically coming off the battery. Mains hookup is at 1.6 amp and the solar is at 0. Solar will always go to sleep when mains connection is connected to the vehicle because it can't compete with 230 volt. Underneath the master switch for your lights, you've got your on light, and you do have a dimmer light, so you can press and hold and dim the lights underneath the lockers down. Pressing the settings, you've got your power settings. So the active battery always wants to be battery L, which is leisure, which is a battery that's an auxiliary battery designed to power the motorhome or caravan or vice versa. The solar battery you can have selected to the battery that you want. So you can either have it selected to the leisure or the vehicle. So if you are standing the vehicle up for a few weeks, you might want to put it onto the vehicle, but when you're using it while camping, you might want to put it onto the leisure because it will charge the leisure battery when you're using it. But it's only as good as the round thing in the sky. So in the summer, great. In the winter, not so good unless we have a sunny day. Or what you can do is you can put this one on smart. I wouldn't advise putting the active battery on smart because what smart does, it analyzes both batteries, and whatever battery's lower, it will put onto the other battery. So if the leisure battery goes lower than the vehicle battery, it'll know that there's some more reserve charge in the vehicle battery and it'll switch it over. I wouldn't advise doing that on the active, but you might want to do that on the solar because it'll monitor both batteries, and if that's parked up in the storage yard or on the drive, it'll just do it by itself. You don't have to do it for it. Tank fill, there's a little socket next to your hose pipe connection on the side of the van, and you can buy a pump, and if you can't get a hose to the vehicle, you can bring water to the van in an aqua roll in a bucket, put the pump in, but the pump won't be live until you turn the tank fill on because there's no 12 volt at that point until you turn this on. Tank heaters, you can turn the tank heaters on if you're going to be using it in the winter and it's going to freeze. Pop them on overnight and it'll just stop the water from freezing in the tanks by keeping it above freezing. Light settings, screen settings, and then the date and time for when the clocks go back. To operate your heating and hot water system, which is through Truma, so this is your Truma digital control panel. Using the toggle in the centre of the screen here, you would press enter, and you'll notice flashing you've got a van with a thermometer in. This is the room temperature of the vehicle. So if you press enter again, you can have it all the way to off. Selecting your temperature, it goes to the highest point of 30 degrees. And then once you're happy, you need to confirm this by pressing the toggle in. So that has set your room temperature. Next, we've got your hot water. So you've got a thermometer in some water, making sure that you do have water in the boiler first. If you don't, then you need to have this set to off. And then should you have water in, you can either use the eco setting, which is 40 degrees of heating the 10 litres in the boiler. 60 degrees of heating the 10 litres of water in the boiler, or boost, which is a half an hour function and turns the heating off and puts all the heat to the water. So prioritises the hot water. But for this we'll just say hot, and again you would press enter. Now you've got which energy source you're on. So you've got a gas bottle and some electricity symbols there. So depending on what energy source you have available to you will determine what you use. So first it'll show you gas, which you'd use if you're wild camping and weren't hooked up. You'd have to use your gas to heat your water and your vehicle. You've then got mixture 1, which is 750 watts of electric and gas. Mix 2, which is 1850 watts of mains electric power and gas. You'd use this in the winter to get the vehicle up to temperature for the first 20 minutes or so. And then you want to knock it off because you don't want to waste your gas if you've paid for electric. And then you've got EL1, which is 750 watts of electric. You may have to use this on smaller CL sites or abroad as they're not as generous with their power. And then going back in, you've got EL2, which is 1850 watts of electric. So we're hooked up now, that's a 16 amp feed. We'll just press EL2 and that will heat the vehicle and the hot water. In the top right hand corner you do have the fan speed, so you've got eco or high or boost. Eco is a little bit quieter, it is just a 12 volt fan, so if you're away and you're wild camping you want to use eco because it doesn't use as much 12 volt. You've got high, which will obviously use all of the fan speed to circulate the heat around the various parts of the vehicle. And then you've got boost, which again is the highest setting it will go to, and it will blow the heat around the ducts in the various parts of the van. But for this we'll just say eco because high can sometimes be a little bit noisy. If you're going to sleep, I would recommend putting it on to eco because it's a little bit more quieter and it's a bit more livable. Everything above the line here flashing means that it's selecting and it's on. So it's showing that your gas flame means that your room temperature is selected, your heating's on, your hot water's on, you're on 2 kilowatts of electric, EL2, 1850 watts because you've got two electricity symbols lit up, and your fan's on eco as you have one fin on the fan speed lit up as well. At the bottom you've got a timer so you can time it to come on and off just the once though. You've got the clock so you can set the time to what it is on the display panel. So if you are timing it, it's in the right time. And then should you ever get a warning triangle, the best way to reset this is by going into the settings, going to reset, pressing enter, preset, press enter again, and it goes to a stage of initializing. That will completely turn off the control panel. Now nothing is on. You will have to go in again and reset your temperature, your hot water, your energy source and your fan speed again. So in the kitchen you do have 3 gas burners, 1 electric hot plate which will work when the vehicle is hooked up to mains. You'll also hear the noise of the fan. This is an extractor fan which goes on and off. When the glass lid is put down it will go off. When the glass lid is up it does come on to aid with extraction. So you've got 3 lit gas rings here, like so. 1 electric hot plate, which is this one. You don't get any light to tell you the electric hot plate's on, so do just be careful and always make sure that's turned off before you hook the vehicle up. Underneath you do have your grill, and then under the grill you've got your oven at the back there. Any parts for the oven grill, there's a sticker here with a unique part number on for this model of Thetford oven. Push in the centre and you've got some storage underneath, but you do also have the location of your pump and pump filter, and you've also got your gas isolation taps. So there's 4 taps underneath here. Any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe, but you can isolate each individual appliance here. And then this side you do have the plug for your electric hot plate, so you can isolate it there by unplugging the plug. Storage cutlery tray at the top. Some shelving. Your sink cover slides away in here, and that can go either way on the sink, so it can be act as a sink cover and give you more prep space, or you can turn it round and it can give you more chopping space. Above you've got the mains 800-watt microwave, so this will work when the vehicle is connected to hook up, and you press eco and you can wake the microwave up. To operate your Thetford fridge, you turn on here by pressing and holding. And then you press here to change the source, so it tells you what energy source it's on and the temperature. To change this, you press a square grey button, press and hold and wait until it flashes, and then you can move it between the sources. So you've got mains hook up, battery when you travel, so get it down to temperature first on gas or electric, and then you can swap it to battery, and this will keep it cool when traveling, but it'll get no cooler, but it'll just keep it at the temperature it was at when departing. And then you've got gas if you're wild camping, and you just select by pressing enter. When pre-chilling, have your temperature at 5. When you put your shopping in, turn it down, as sometimes it can freeze the fridge. Once you're happy with the temperature, select, and that is the fridge set on the source you've selected. Make sure that when you don't use your fridge, you clean it out. You put this little blue clip into the middle, rest the door upon it, and it stops it shutting and allows air to vent in and out of the fridge to stop smells. This is your data sticker for your fridge, so any parts that you need for it, all your part details can be found on here. You've also got a freezer box at the top, and you've got some pockets in the doors for your bottles, and a large box at the bottom for some more bottles and your salad drawer. To lock the habitation door, push the chrome catch in. This will lock the door, and then as soon as you go for the handle, it will open. And on the door as well, you've got a fly screen, so when the door's open, you can pull that across. But do just be careful in case you've got dogs that they don't run through the fly screen. And a blackout blind on the window of the habitation door. All your reading lights are individually switched, so in the lounge you've got 4 of these, 2 either side, so you can turn them on depending on which ones you want on at any one time. On this vehicle, someone has fitted these as these are a extra, so these are your tank heaters for your fresh and waste water. So if it's going to freeze overnight, you can turn these on to stop the water from freezing within the tank. In the overhead locker above the driver's seat, you do have your AC700 power supply unit, which is from Sargent. So in here you have a system shutdown button, which is a 12-volt battery isolation switch. You've got your 12-volt fuses, so carry some spares with you in case a fuse does blow. It'll come up red, you can pick the fuse out and replenish the fuse. On the door just above us, it's got a sticker with all the fuse ampage and what the fuse does, so you kind of go wrong. And in here you do have your main trip tester. So if you think you're not receiving power but you're hooked up, the best way to check is by tripping the van. If the van trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, look where you're getting the power from, because it's not the vehicle at fault. MCBs, which will do your water heater, your sockets and some other various bits and pieces. Again, that's labelled up on the top of the cupboard door what these do. You've got a reverse polarity switch, which will illuminate if you're abroad and you're getting reverse polarity. Your charger that illuminates when you are hooked up, charges the leisure battery from the mains. And the heating and hot water, this is the 230-volt fuse spur side of it, so that's got to be turned on to use your Truma heating and hot water on electric. But that will just illuminate when it's hooked up, so I would just leave it as it is. But if you've got any problems, just check that you haven't knocked that. Build number on the auto trail. Every auto trail gets a unique build number when it leaves the factory. If you need any parts for the vehicle, quote the auto trail dealer this number and they'll be able to find the parts that are correct for your motorhome. In the next locker from your power supply unit, just above your lounge seat, you do have your TV booster. So on these vehicles it's a fixed omnidirectional aerial. The only way to change the aerial is to boost it. So you've got an amplifier, so you can amplify the signal if it's too strong. If it's still pixelating on full, try turn it down so that you get the perfect picture on free view. Underneath the bench seat, behind the driver's seat, this is the location of where the mains comes in, but you've also got the location of the leisure battery. So it comes with one leisure battery as standard. You can add additional batteries on, but this would be something that you would need to speak to us about. One battery fuse, so it's a 20 amp mains battery fuse, and underneath here you've got your 105 amp hour leisure battery. So that battery does all the motorhome side of it. Charge it up, make sure you keep an eye on the charge in the winter. Don't let it go flat and sit flat for months, because otherwise the battery is then needing replaced, because you can't, it won't then take a charge and maintain that charge. It'll just drop straight away, so you will need to replace it. But the best way to do it is check it on the control panel, always unhook it and get the true resting rate of your leisure battery. To make the front lounge into your occasional double bed, if you lift each section out on the base of the lounge and put the leg down to sustain the weight, and then you can either pull the base cushion forward and drop the backrest into the back, or put the backrest at the front. It doesn't make any difference which way you do it. But one thing I would do is turn the cushions upside down, so you don't get the bull nose effect in the middle of the cushion. If you turn them to the flat side, the cushions are fully flat on the back, and you'll get a more comfortable night's sleep sleeping on the backs of the cushions than you will on the front. To operate your Avtex TV, there's a switch on the top here. Make sure it's turned on. When it is turned on, you'll get the red standby light. Pointing your remote to it, and it'll go blue. And then every time you move sight, you do have to retune the telly, because you pick up different signal bands. And to do this, you press AQT, press and hold, big orange button, press OK, and it'll start to do an automatic channel search and find as many channels as it can on Freeview where the van's parked up. Across the back of this model, you've got your transverse double bed. Got storage in the two cabinets above with some shelving in the centre. Skylight with blackout blind and fly screen on, which you can open for some ventilation in the summer months. Two light switches there, and you do have a window this side, as well as you've got a prep for a TV. So you've got TV aerial point, 12 volt and mains 230 point socket here, so you only just need to put a bracket on the side of the wardrobe for a TV in the rear. Underneath the transverse double bed, you do have access to the garage, so if it's raining you don't need to go outside to get something out the back. But you've also got your location of your boiler drain valve. So in the winter months when we're experiencing frost and you're not using the vehicle, it's very important that you drain the vehicle down to avoid the water from freezing in the boiler and causing any damage. So what you need to do is, first of all, drain your two tanks from outside, which is your fresh and your waste, which should already be drained anyway from your last site. Then you'd come in, open all the taps within the van, remove the shower head from the shower hose and lie the hose down in the tray, and then you would lift this up, and this will allow the water out underneath the van, and you leave it stood up in position when not using the van, so no water can sit in the boiler. And then you would turn the pump on for 10 seconds with the taps all open, just to blast any water out that's remaining in any blue pipelines. So all the water is out of the vehicle. When you come to reuse it, shut the valve, shut the waste, shut the fresh outside, shut all your taps, assemble your shower head back up, put the water hose in and fill the fresh water tank. Once you've filled the fresh water tank, you can turn the pump on your control panel and go to the cold side of the tap. You'll get a pressurized flow of cold water straight away. As soon as you go to start mixing it with the hot, you'll get some coughing and spluttering, and all that's doing is it's transferring the water from the freshwater tank into the boiler. Once the boiler is primed, your system is ready for the season ahead. Now in the washroom, which you do have a separate toilet to shower, so do just be careful with what you clean the shower cubicle out with. There's a little notice there. Don't use any harsh chemicals on there because you'll damage the finish. You've got a hanging rail as well for wet towels, but also great for wet coats. If you've been caught in the rain, hang your coats in here, shut the washroom door, put the heating on, and it'll get nice and warm and dry your coats out in no time. Also make sure these doors are closed when travelling. They are on a magnetic strip. Your toilet operation of your toilet, press the blue button here. The fan will kick in. To stop the fan, press on it. This just helps with extraction. Press and hold. Put a small amount of water in the toilet first before opening the blade. Using the toilet. Flushing after use. If you've got any pink liquid, small amount of pink in a spray bottle, dilute with water, spray the bowl, flush and close. Does the same job, just with the motorhome. It's fresh water fed for your header tank of your toilet, not like your caravan where you do have a separate place to put your pink liquid. 3 green lights underneath the diagram of the cassette here indicates that it's full, so it'll go up in stages to tell you when it's ready to be emptied, rinsed out and replenished with chemical. You do have toiletry cabinets though underneath the sink and beside the mirror as well. And then as well on the roof, when you're showering, you can open the skylight, and you do have a blackout blind and fly screen on there for when it is open.